The year is 1470. Before the sun rises over the mountains of Thessaly, a bell sounds for the last time. Its echo rolls across a quiet valley, unaware that this will be the final morning it ever calls anyone to prayer. Inside the stone walls of the convent of St. Catherine, 23 women kneel shoulder to shoulder on a cold chapel floor. Their voices move together, reciting words they've spoken every dawn for years. But today, the prayers feel heavier, final. Each syllable carries the weight of farewell. Outside, the sky burns red, not with sunrise, but with banners. An empire has arrived. The Ottoman army does not advance like a marching force. It spreads, relentless and inevitable, swallowing villages, churches, and memories as it goes. These soldiers have seen battlefields soaked in blood. They have carried out executions without flinching. Yet when orders were given for what was to happen here, even hardened men felt their stomachs tighten. Some quietly asked to be reassigned. Others stood still, hoping the command would somehow be reversed. Because this punishment, this process, was different. What stood before them wasn't just death. It was something far worse. What happened to these women would not be taught in classrooms. It would not appear in popular histories of conquest and empire. It would be buried under layers of silence, forgotten on purpose until now. Welcome to Hidden Secret Tales, where we uncover the stories power tried to erase. To understand what happened at St. Catherine's, you have to step back 17 years, back to 1453. That was the year Constantinople fell. For more than 1,000 years, the city had stood as the heart of Eastern Christendom. Its walls had resisted armies. Its churches had shaped faith across continents. And then, in just 53 days, it collapsed under cannon fire. Within hours of the conquest, crosses were torn down. Bells were melted for metal. The Hagia Sophia, the greatest cathedral the Christian world had ever built, was stripped and transformed into a mosque. Where choirs once sang, the call to prayer now echoed. Sultan Mehmed II understood something many conquerors never do. You don't defeat a people by killing them. You defeat them by erasing who they are. The Ottoman Empire didn't simply seize land. It dismantled identity. Churches, monasteries, convents, these weren't just buildings. They were living symbols of resistance. As long as bells rang and prayers continued in conquered lands, the old world refused to die. And nuns, women who devoted their lives to faith, were especially dangerous. They didn't fight with weapons. They fought by remembering. So the empire refined a strategy. No massacres. No public slaughters. Those create martyrs. Martyrs inspire songs, rebellions, legends. Instead, the Ottomans perfected disappearance. By 1470, the method had been tested across the Balkans and Anatolia. Monasteries emptied. Clergy vanished. Communities were left intact on the surface, but hollowed out at the core. St. Catherine's, isolated on a hillside far from allies or protection, was next. The women inside the convent were not soldiers. They were healers, caretakers, and prayer keepers. Sister Eleni, the abbess, had led the convent for over a decade. Before that, she had tended the sick in a village wiped out by plague. She came to the convent not to escape the world, but to understand its suffering. Sister Magdalena was barely 19. Her hands still carried the roughness of farm work. She had joined the convent after her family was killed during a raid years earlier. For her, these stone walls were the last place that felt safe. Sister Theodora was 70. She had lived through emperors, wars, and invasions. Death no longer frightened her, but none of them had ever faced this. Just after dawn, the first cannon fired. The shot didn't strike the chapel. It struck the bell tower. Stone exploded outward. Iron screamed. The bell shattered mid-swing, its fragments raining into the courtyard where the sisters grew herbs for medicine. The sound was deafening. Final. Sister Eleni did not scream. She raised a silver crucifix and began to sing, Kyrie eleison, Lord, have mercy. One by one, the others joined her. 23 voices rising against an empire. By midday, the gates were breached. The soldiers who entered didn't rush in with swords. They carried ledgers, ink, quills. They moved like accountants, not conquerors, counting, recording, assessing. A translator stepped forward, a local Greek man whose voice shook as he read from a scroll. Those who accepted conversion would receive protection. Those who refused would face the consequences of rebellion. Sister Eleni stepped forward calmly. "Tell your sultan," she said in clear Greek, "that we already belong to a king. We have nothing left to give." The officer in command, Hassan Pasha, smiled, not with cruelty, with certainty. That night, the women were locked inside their own chapel. No food, no water. Outside, soldiers laughed and ate while the sisters sat in darkness. Some of the younger women wept quietly, but Magdalena began to whisper a psalm. "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." Others joined her. The Ottomans had underestimated something. These women had spent their lives preparing for suffering. By the third day, the doors opened again. Bread and water were placed inside, clean, tempting. They didn't touch it. When Hassan Pasha returned, he spoke gently. "You are not criminals," he said. "You are mistaken. Come to Constantinople. The Sultan himself will hear you." Sister Eleni looked at her sisters. "We will walk," she said. The march south took 7 days. No carts, no horses. The road itself was the punishment. One sister collapsed on the second day. The younger women carried her until she died in the night. They buried her with bare hands, while soldiers watched in silence. Another sister stopped walking on the 4th day and never rose again. By the time they reached the coast, only 18 remained. They were loaded onto a galley, not as passengers, but as cargo, chained to benches, listed on a manifest not by name, but by number. Religious captives, female, destination, imperial household. The voyage to Constantinople lasted 12 days. Storms battered the ship. Salt burned their lips. At night, Magdalena whispered prayers so softly they barely carried over the waves. But other prisoners listened. When the city finally rose before them, it gleamed like a blade. They were marched through streets filled with merchants, soldiers, and slaves, past the Hagia Sophia, past gardens and fountains, and then downward, beneath the palace. Below Topkapi Palace existed a world not meant to be seen. Tunnels, storage chambers, forgotten corridors carved into stone. There, the surviving nuns became silent servants, cleaning, carrying, existing without identity. But at night, they gathered in a sealed room deep underground. They had no altar, no books, only memory. They recited prayers from recall, sang hymns in whispers, shared stolen bread and water as communion, and they carved their faith into the walls. Crosses, dozens of them. Latin words scratched so faintly they almost vanished. Lux in tenebris lucet. The light shines in the darkness. They kept vigil for months, possibly years, until the markings stopped. Ottoman records later mention a cleansing of palace staff. No names, one word, disposed. The empire lasted 600 years. The sultans are gone. Their decrees are dust. But beneath a palace that now serves as a museum, those crosses remain. So does the message. Power can conquer land. It can rewrite history, but it cannot erase what people carve into stone when they refuse to disappear. This isn't just a story about religion, it's about memory, about defiance, about voices that survive even when silenced. The women of St. Catherine were meant to vanish. Instead, centuries later, you're hearing them now. And as long as their story is remembered, the darkness never fully wins. The light still shines.